Tanse, Jenny Laderoute, Nitsikason, Gogith Lake, Alberta, Hochinia. We are Hachamoyan Oma, Gagipiawa Siuyan, Mr. Hikwainigisksin, 1950s, early 1960s, Kagi Wapahtaman, Yawasiuyan. Nigisksin tan Spigith Lake Expe Igiaya. Isnagwak, awino tahki huiget, Nigisksin, Kakiawak Kihtimak so. Muy mehti tawiak utapanas kohtayawiu. Miskanawa muy utimiosna. Makwai min dohtayana nuha noskaya yahtaiskut waskutip chigana. Igi mustipuna ma kakiakwaiksise. Muy minaki gwenduhayanan siwip chigana. Machiga uti gift lake kwantiti saga ngihawiginan. Mangi mioyanan. Machiga nipaksimon. Tamiwihtami kuhe achamona kayayan. Hi, my name is Jenny Laderoute, and I'm from Gift Lake, Alberta. I'm telling stories on YouTube from my childhood. I was a child in the 1950s and early 1960s, and I have many stories to tell about my life in a isolated, tiny northern community. Gift Lake only had about 150 people at the time, and but life was good. I remember Gift Lake being a close-knit community. People helped each other out. People got along. Times were hard and life was tough. Most families were like large families, 10, 12 children. And people spent their days, pursuing the necessities of life for their families. But I also think of a bustling, busy, productive community. Everybody worked hard. In 1950s, there was, I remember, 3 operational sawmills right in Gift Lake or near Gift Lake that employed people. I remember when the roads were being built, they used horses and this horse-drawn equipment. But I also think of other things that describe Gift Lake. Life was simple, friendly, and as I mentioned before, a strong sense of community. But people also knew how to take time away from their hard work to relax, to spend time with family, to attend church, and to visit with each other. Visiting was a very important part of life. That was where relationships were built, and people really got to know each other and each other's families. Opportunities for visiting were created. I remember my mom used to invite, another woman along with her kids to go berry picking. So while they're berry picking, they're visiting, and, we would take a lunch. I remember Mom also had a friend that she used to ask to come with us to the Hudson Bay store, which was located about 3 hours away from Gift Lake in the Whitefish Lake Reserve. And whenever we went without Dad, she would invite her along to keep her company, I guess. And yes, Mom was able to harness the horses and drive the team. But visiting day was Sunday. Mom did all her housework on Saturday, so she wouldn't have to do anything on Sunday or minimum work. All of their lives, my parents, my mom and dad practiced Sunday as a day of rest, as a day to devote to God. And I believe that had a big part in my growing up years to come to believe in God and um, to have that model to me. The next thing I'm going to talk about is ball games. Ball games are big community events. The first ball team in Gift Lake was formed sometime in the maybe mid to late 50s. And they played with teams from neighboring communities, from Whitefish, from Gouard, Peavine. Mom usually packed a bit of a picnic lunch. If we had Kool-Aid, we took Kool-Aid in a jar and maybe a bannock with some jam on it. The team was really poor. When a player hit the ball into the tall grass or the trees even, the ball game would come to a halt. It would stop because they only had one baseball. Then the team and even the fans would be looking for the baseball. And when it was found, the game continued. Even the opposing team helped look for it. So definitely there was no baseball uniforms. They barely had baseball gloves. I remember players from both teams kind of actually lending each other and sharing the baseball gloves. But, that was just how life was back then. Dances. There was dances. They usually took place in people's homes. There was no hall in Gift Lake. I remember that quite a few dances took place at Peter Shaw's, which was not too far from where we lived. They had a 2-story log house, a big house that was good for a dance, I guess. Us kids would get sent upstairs during the dance, but we didn't miss out. We'd watch the dancing through the cracks on the floor. They were pretty much family events. I remember, our parents taking us to the dances. Music was provided by local musicians, and they were like more or less pickup bands. They weren't paid to play. Someone just put up a dance. Musicians showed up to play. It was an opportunity for them to do what they enjoy doing, I guess. I remember one time there was actually sandwiches served at one of these dances, and that usually didn't happen. There was old-time music, square dances, which were actually called. I remember a couple of the callers were like Big Joe Cardinal and Joe Gray. There was always a time for the Red River Jig, which is a traditional Métis dance that required like quick, fancy footwork. The dance usually turned into a bit of a competition. Everyone gathered around to watch, clapping and cheering the couple on the dance floor. This is how it worked. At all times, there was only one couple on the floor, and the couple dancing were the challengers. Then another couple would come jigging onto the dance floor, and the challenging couple would dance off the floor. It was a competitive dance, but there were never any winners announced or prizes given out. It was just done just for fun. Sorry, I needed that. Sports days. I remember a few sports days. There were big community events and well attended. People came from other communities and pitched up tents. Um, and visiting was a big part of the sports days, reconnecting with families that lived in other areas. So, camping, visiting was a big part of it. Typical sports day activities were races of all kinds. There were foot races for all ages, novelty events and races. There was, I remember, a pie eating contest. um, Other things like needle threading and egg race, things like that, even adults participated in. The horse races, though, they were the much anticipated events. Um, there wasn't much of a track or much preparation done to make to develop the track. The ground was hard, but they raced on it anyway. And there was even a slow horse race, and I remember one of our horses, Doll. She was our horse wagon. She won. She was the slowest horse, and they had to try and make them run. Like they couldn't just slow them down. I mean, they had to try and make like win the race, but the slowest horse won. It was funny. Um, I remember a sports day that was at near Peter Shaw's place. It was where the ball diamonds are today. There was a big sports day at Horse Creek one year. It was, I think, early 60s, maybe 61, 62. I was probably about 9, 10 years old. There was, I remember they built a dance floor and had a dance, like an open air dance. So I imagine the mosquitoes had a lot of fun. I remember two things about that sports day. One was a very serious accident, and the other one was a potential very serious accident. Um, they were having the men were having a long jump, okay, a track event, long jump, and there was no sand. They were just doing it on the hard ground, and I wasn't right there when it happened, but you could hear it. He broke his leg. He jumped and broke a leg. And you could hear the sound of that leg breaking. It made a popping sound. I still remember that sound. And so it was quite the emergency. He had to be, they had to apply first aid, loaded up and taken away. There was a car. So, and the other one had potential to be a serious accident. The horse races were going on. So where the track ended, they had to leave an area for where the horses were to slow down and come to a stop, right? And that area was cleared out, like nobody was to go there. So I was actually, me and Pearl Anderson, we were best friends then. We were hanging out and close by this area. And this car drives up, probably didn't know the horse racing was going on or horses were coming, and parked there in this open area. And I knew horses were coming. I don't remember. Anyway, what I remember is the horses came running, and this one horse couldn't stop or avoid this car. And he ran into it, like full speed almost, and went flying. Horse and rider went flying over this car. And fortunately, there was no one was injured. The horse was okay. The rider was okay, and the people in the car were okay, but they got into a lot of trouble. Yeah, people were mad at them, got after them. But this, talking about the sports day, particular one, reminds me of a trip that we made to Whitefish just before the sports day without Dad. And it was just Mom and the kids, us kids, and she had invited her friend, Helen Tompkins, to come with her. We were on our way back from Whitefish when a horse ridden by Gladys Flett caught up to us. And just when she got beside our horses, she yelled, giddy up, and got her horse off and running. See, her horse had been practicing for the upcoming races. And so was one of our horses. His name was Tom. So, of course, he got into the race right away, right? And naturally, we had a runaway team of horses. Our horse really thought he was in a race to win. And we had a runaway team, which can be pretty darn hard to stop. We were just having a ball, going so fast, the horses galloping. We didn't realize how dangerous it really was. And Mom and Helen were just yanking on the reins. They couldn't stop them. They could barely even slow them down. And fortunately, my older brother Larry had come along, but he was in the back. And the wagon I'm talking about was a Bennett wagon with the car tires. It wasn't those old wagons that had the wooden trim and wire metal spokes. It wasn't that kind. It was the one kind of wagon that could go fast. So anyway, Larry finally made it up to the front, and with the three of them yanking on the reins, they were able to slow down and stop the team. But we got home safe and sound with a good story to tell. Year-end school picnics were also other events that were well attended. A big part of the day was the picnic that Mom packed, and we would share the meal with another family. Again, it was usually Helen and her family that we shared the picnic lunch with. Activities were, of course, races, novelty races. There was cash prizes. There was ice cream. A treat when you only saw snow in the winter when you made it out of snow. And maybe there was even candy. Who knows? There was no horse races at those events. But, they were special. They were very special memories I have. Weddings. I remember a couple of weddings I remember a few weddings, but a couple of weddings where the mode of transportation was horse and wagon. And the horses would wear these bells, and they sounded really nice when they were trotting. And the harness was decorated with flowers and ribbon. And the bride and groom, went by horse and wagon. The weddings were community celebrations, like everyone was expected to attend. There was no such thing as invitations. After the ceremony, the couple, the newlyweds, went to call on each house. The practice of calling on each house in the community was the first thing the newlyweds did as a married couple, was to go house to house. This gave everyone an opportunity to congratulate them and to give them a gift. The gifts they got were not necessarily new. I remember Mom took a frying pan out of her cupboard and gave it to them. In 1966, when my sister got married, this old guy, just grabbed a mirror off his wall and gave it to them. But, they were special. As the couple left the church and began their traditional visit to each home, people fired shotguns into the air, or as they were approaching their house, the guys would shoot shotguns up in the air as a way of saluting the newly married couple. It was a way to wish them happiness and a long life together. It was customary for an elder to speak to the couple sometime during the reception or just before they cut the wedding cake. The elder spoke to them about the responsibilities of marriage and the commitment that they had just made to each other. The wedding cake was brought out onto the middle of the dance floor at midnight. And before the couple cut the cake, people took turns singing a song for the bride and groom. After the singing, the couple cut and served the cake themselves. There was traditionally 2 nights of dancing. The bridal party hosted a dance the night following the wedding dance, and the newlyweds attended as guests of honor. Yes, we lived the culture. And there were other ways that we lived the culture. But all I have time today is to talk about the community life. There were ways that Gift Lake operated to form a strong community. And I pay tribute. And to the hard work of the early settlers and our ancestors. My ancestors, my dad is one of them, who built our community, and I honor them for the vision that they had for Gift Lake. I hope you enjoyed my story today. Egose Maga.